What's our format? So the first thing I'll ask you is, how does this impact the traffic? It's not, we're not worried about that. So you have to pick up your wife. I heard she works in Ridge. Hospital where that guy was in last year. He had if it doesn't, I just remember it was in Swedish. It was like he was let's be scared to sit between us. You know, Andrew's probably cuddled up in bed. Yeah. These things just pop in my head.
Yeah, they're good.
Michelle, you ready? Okay. All right. Everybody ready? I'm going to take and move that. So, yeah. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. As always, the American flag is displayed both in the rear of the room and in the front. If you will, please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Parker, if you would take the roll, please.
Atchison.
Here.
Byrd.
Here.
DeCambra.
Here.
DeMott.
Here.
Pinter.
Here.
Seitz.
Here.
Scully.
Here.
Members of council, you have before you the minutes of the January 22nd and February the 5th. If you would like to make a motion, Ms. Seitz.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the City Council approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of January 22nd, 2018, and the special City Council meetings of January 29th, 2018, and February 5th, 2018, as presented.
Is there a second, Ms. Byrd?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. We have no presentations tonight. We'll move on to citizen communication. This is a period of time where anyone who has an item they'd like to bring to the council has up to 5 minutes each. We will have you come forward once I call your name. If you have not signed up, I do have a sign-up sheet up here for some who have already registered. If you have not registered and wish to speak, there are still sheets in the back. This is limited to those that are not scheduled for a public hearing. We do have a public hearing scheduled later on item 10A. If you're here for that, please wait till that time. Again, it's 5 minutes. The green light comes on when your time starts. The yellow light will give you have 1 minute warning, and the red light means that your time has expired. So I have 6 people who have signed up so far. Diane Maria Snyder, you're up first.
And I am here with my landlord and HOA president, Bob Alexander.
Okay, would you use the mic, please, ma'am, so we can hear you? Thank
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. 1973, I lived at 4560 West 90th, just over the hill there. And I'm the lady who organized the neighborhood against a PUD developer who wanted to develop this land where we are right now as a public utility development. I'm so very glad you did. Thank you so very much for this beautiful city center. On September 14th of this past year, I was in a car accident at 112th and Stewart, and that location has been on a high priority list since April of 2002 for a city stoplight, 4-way stoplight. It has yet to be put in. And you know, another foot further out in the intersection, and I might not be here today. So I am asking that that be taken into consideration, and that at the very least we be given the temporary stoplight that is now located at the Front Range parking lot exit and put it at the west Front Range parking lot exit, which is exactly coincidental to 112th and Stewart. There is no way out of that intersection without going all the way around over to Vrain past the elementary school, or all the way up to Legacy Ridge to get out to 107th or 104th to get to Sheridan. And so that leaves us sitting there at that traffic light for minutes on end, sometimes 10 and 15 minutes. That day, the pavement was clear in each direction. There was no traffic from Sheridan all the way up to the traffic light that was a block further up the hill. If there had been a traffic light, the SUV that was turning right, onto Stewart and going south would never have created the blind spot that caused me to proceed further out into the intersection where I was hit, which could have been a fatal accident for both of us, except for the fact that I was not totally out into the intersection at that time, thinking that I had clear right-of-way because there was an SUV creating a blind spot at that corner. And following the accident, I have looked again and again and again and found that there are blind spots in every direction at that intersection, and I hope to God that nobody has to die at that intersection before City Council finally gets around to 15 and 16 years later installing the traffic light that was promised by City Council in April of 2002. It's time to move that temporary light from the Front Range entrance and exit, one exit further down to 112th and Stewart, so that we can all be safe, not just some of us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, by the way, I have details here. Who do I give them to?
The clerk.
Give them the there.
Okay, thank you. Bob?
I will take it you're Bob Alexander.
Yes, correct.
Sir, you're up.
I've lived at the address that Diane actually has written from me since August of '95. I moved away from there and live in Arvada now, but in I think it was January of 2002, or I mean, excuse me, 2008. And I've been to a lot of the COG meetings in the 2000s to about 2002. Sorry. Oh. Hey, I can see.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's good. So it ended up that a lot of these COG meetings, they were talking about the traffic light when they built the library, the Front Range Library, and now also the public library there. And they told us that they were just doing a temporary light there for, you know, a couple of months to see, you know, for the traffic wise to come in and out. Ended up that that is still there. It is still a temporary light. And a lot of times you do have, like Diane said, you have to wait anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes sometimes to get out into traffic. And if you're going westbound off of Stewart, you're finding out that you have to keep looking back and forth west and eastbound to make sure all the lanes are clear before you even cross. I do know that a lot of times the police sit up there in that parking lot and make sure, you know, traffic's flowing good, and they also give a lot of tickets for people that are speeding. But no one wants to, you know, there used to be like a turn lane that you can get into. Now they took that out, and there's only a turn lane to get into the college. So I think that, you know, like Diane was saying, that we really need to look at this study again. I know they've been doing studies about every other year on it, but the neighborhood has grown. There's more traffic at the college anymore. And with the light being down at Stewart instead of where it is now in front of the college library, I think this will help limit a lot of the either accidents or, you know, people trying to get across the street to get to the college better. Does anyone have any questions for me?
This is not a question, so
Oh, okay.
we're just listening to you.
Okay. I would say that's about all I have to say. I think Diane did a nice presentation that you guys can look at on paper and see what happened. And just, I think it's time to, you know, for us to move forward on this and either get more traffic studies or get the light moved. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
How do we follow up with this?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
How do we follow up with this?
There's a gentleman sitting right in the second row there, and the one in the front row will both be getting the information off the recording.
Okay. Thank
Our
you.
staff will, ma'am. We'll follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. John Flanagan.
I have a submission for the council tonight.
Give it to the clerk, if you would, Mr. Flanagan.
Doesn't automatically reset.
That's
sorry.
really cool. I gotta tell you, that's really cool.
But it takes a moment. I apologize.
That's all right.
There you go.
Mayor, city councilors, thanks for your time tonight. I'm John Flanagan. I live at 105th and Countryside. First of all, I'm submitting to you a boilerplate. This is from our sister city, Louisville, up the street. All right. This is their city ordinance and municipal ordinance about pit bulls and the Again, we're back at this issue of public safety within the confines of the city limits of Westminster, but also public safety within the Westminster Hills Dog Park. If you look at this municipal ordinance, it's pretty comprehensive and pretty inclusive. And basically, number one, it says that pit bulls are prohibited, city of Louisville, all right? However, it does give certain exceptions, and it also gives a grandfather clause. It gives a moratorium so that if you have a pit bull, there's a way to deal with that. And they've set their date as April the 9th of 1994. If you look at this, there's some licensure required, and there's some pretty stiff penalties if you don't ascribe to these ordinances. The thing that really gets me the most is that they require $100,000 liability insurance per pit bull. That's per dog, all right? Now, that's got some teeth in it. They also mentioned here temporary secure enclosures. It always has to be a temporary secure enclosure. There's no point, if these pit bulls are grandfathered in, there's no point where they're allowed to roam free. They're never off a leash. They're always in some type of a permanent temporary enclosure. You have to have signs. You have to register with the chief of police, all right? If for any reason that your insurance policy expires or is changed, you have to notify the chief of police that there is a change in your pit bull insurance. All right. Now I'm going to take a couple of moments and I'm going to pontificate. Today's day number 45 since Beaky's been killed. All right. So that's from today. That's from the 29th of December to today's date. We've been pretty much rolling the dice. We've been just saying, hey, nothing's happened. Let's let things go on as they may. I think we should be more proactive in that. Let me again reiterate that I'm willing to work with you guys for free as a team. I'm willing to be a teammate. Let's get a comprehensive pit bull ordinance enforced and enacted within this city. All right? I implore you, let me work with you. I'm free. I do not charge anything. Let's deal with some statistics for just a moment. From the year 2005 to the year 2016, in those intervening 12 years, there have been 400 Americans that have been killed in dog attacks, all right? I'm not going to tell you what percentage, or I am going to tell you that 66% of those fatal dog attacks have been committed by one breed of dog. And it's a rhetorical question. I know that you know the answer to that, all right? There is a woman in Virginia in December, okay, blonde woman, 29 years old, all right? Ladies, I'm going to be indiscreet here for a minute, but she was out walking her dogs. She was experiencing estrus, all right? Those dogs smelled the blood. Her own dogs attacked her. The sheriff said, in my 42 years of law enforcement experience, I've never seen anything so reprehensible. This woman's rib cage was ripped from her thoracic cavity, and her dogs were eating her. Her beloved dogs were eating her. I'll let you guess what kind of dogs those were, all right? This is going to be a tough fight. You're going to have animal rights activists coming up here in front of you telling you that everything is okay. I want you to wade through that, and I want you to realize that you can't discount the genetics of this particular breed. We have to have comprehensive breed-specific legislation for the public. The Marine Corps has the pit bull as their mascot because pit bulls, like the Marines, they fight to the death and they don't let go when they latch on. If you want to hunt wild boars in Texas, one of the ways that they hunt them was with pit bulls. All right? These dogs are genetically programmed to maim, to kill, and to fight. All right? Lastly, let me say this. What is the number one priority of every city municipal corporation? The number one priority. It's always public safety, folks. It's always public safety. Let me be a team member. Let me work with you on this. Let's get some comprehensive pit bull ban legislation on our books. Thanks for your time. I'll see you next time.
Mr. Rich Seymour.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight for a special invitation, an open invitation to Council and all Westminster residents. Second iteration of the Sauce for Soldiers will be Wednesday the 28th at 6:30. This is a fundraiser for the Warrior Bonfire Project. And a very unique group of people that has a group here in Colorado helping veterans. Last statistics show that every day we lose 20 veterans to suicide. And the Warrior Bonfire Project specifically works with Purple Heart recipients and combat veterans to help them with their PTSD in groups. Special trips for these veterans gives them opportunities to improve their lives, and then also to be hooked up with mentors who work with them on one-to-one basis to try to get over any problems that they may have and identify those potential problems. Sauce for Soldiers. Myself, I would prefer to have a nice Chianti with my spaghetti sauce, but Westminster Brewery once again has given us an opportunity to use their place and support us, so we'll have spaghetti sauce and beer. It's $10 to come in and taste the entries, and we ask everyone to consider entering their favorite spaghetti sauce as long as it doesn't have a screw top on it. It would be welcome at that, and that'll be 6:30 in the evening on Wednesday, February 28th. We look forward to having you come and join us. You can find more details on the event, Facebook, Sauce for Soldiers. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jeremy Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. It's been a minute since I've been here and some new faces, so congratulations and welcome. I'm here tonight. I just wanted to give a couple of updates on what we're doing here in the office for the Office of Congressman Ed Perlmutter. We have a telephone town hall tomorrow night starting at 7, and it goes for an hour to 8 p.m. If anybody would like to participate in that, we can look at our webpage, events webpage, and it'll give you all the information on how to RSVP to that event to get a call and participate, or you can give our office a call as well. We have a couple more events in March. Senior Resource Fair, which is held annually. We help, or we have a number of participants in the community giving resources to community, from nonprofit organizations to city, state, and federal organizations as well. Having another telephone town hall on March 26th from 7 to 8. Can participate through RSVP through our office once again. And on March 31st, we are having a housing resource fair from 10 a.m. to noon, and we have a panel with Congressman Perlmutter moderating that regarding important housing issues that we're facing here in Colorado from state and federal organizations as well that have tables for resources. We will be having a few more events throughout the year. If you would like to see those events, please look at our events page, or come to our office. We're always open and willing to speak to constituents about any concerns that they have with the federal government, and I'm sure there are many. With that said, that's all I have for you. Thank you for having me here tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Mr. Pat Hamilton, or Pat Hamilton, there he is.
You don't have to use the Mr. Hello, how are you all? Council and Mayor, thank you for having me up to speak again. Thank you again for your continued support. I believe tonight is the second reading of the IGA for the use tax rebate. I wanted to come by because the last time I was here I forgot to thank some people, so I wanted to come by and just thank John Hall, who's over there, and Jenny Grafton, as well as Stephanie Troller for their help in getting this IGA in front of you and all the language that they drafted for us. So all the city staff members have been really great to work with. So thank you very much for your consideration. Again, we really appreciate the partnership, and I look forward to seeing all of you at a ribbon cutting or two in August. So thank you. Have a good night.
Ms. Michaela Martin.
Good evening. My name is Michaela Martin, and I live at 10675 West 85th Place in Arvada. I am the chairperson for the City of Westminster's Youth Advisory Panel, and I just wanted to inform you that we have our Rocky Mountain Youth Summit coming up next week, Friday and Saturday, February 23rd and 24th. I wanted to formally invite the mayor and city council to come and show your support, and I want to thank you all for your encouragement and support through this entire process. At the Youth Summit, we are going to be speaking to youth from all across the state of Colorado about the importance of diversity, community engagement, and culture. And so we are really excited to engage the youth of Colorado in such a positive way. And so anyways, I just wanted to thank you for that, as well as to invite you to come and show your support, as well as to speak to the youth. I will ask to leave registration forms as well as save the date cards with the clerk. And we just would like to seek help in getting as many youth there as possible. So that's all I have for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Is there anyone else in the audience that I've missed or did not sign up that wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Come on up, please. And if you did not sign up, I need your name and address, please.
Yeah. My name is Rikun.
Into the mic.
My name is Rikun.
Okay. Can you give us an address, please, sir?
It's 149 Keystone Trail at Broomfield.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rikun, and I come from a non-profit organization called Up With People. And I hope some of you are familiar with the rhythm, up with people, you meet them wherever you go. So today I'm here tonight, just want to invite you and the citizens of Westminster to be part of our visit. We will be come to Broomfield and Westminster at the week of February 26th and March 5th, and we're going to provide more than 1,000 hours of volunteer work. Specific to Westminster, we're going to work with the Academy to have some leadership workshop, and we'll also stay with local host family and present our new show called Live on Tour with the key message of Keep Hope Alive at Broomfield High School at March 1st at 7 p.m. So I just want to invite all of you to come see our show because it's really 2 hours energetic music show, give you the hope and the positive message. And the tickets are available at upwithpeople.org/Broomfield. So I hope to see you all in the show. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? Okay. Report of city officials. Mr. Tripp, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are three things I want to mention tonight. First of all, I want to let everyone know that the Economic Development Department has created a new website, and it is terrific. It provides a lot of great information about Westminster's economic development activities, and I was hoping I had the actual website on my paper here, but I don't. Jenny, would you mind, or someone come up and let the public know on the record here what that website is? I know some people listen to these broadcasts and may not have heard or seen this information before. Thank you.
Sure. So it's Westminster Economic Development. It's rather long, but you can also link to it through the city page as well. So still in development, but live and working. So, anything other? Yeah.
That's it. I know you've seen the council, but I wanted to make sure the public was aware of that. My second item is I want to announce that after an exhaustive process that included 45 phone screens, 22 video interviews, 6 panel interviews, 60 employees, and the city being involved in the process, we've selected a general services director. Her name is Vicki Manley. Vicki served with the state of Colorado for the majority of her career in the Department of Human Services and Healthcare Policy and Financing. She'll start her work officially on February 20th. We're happy to have Vicki join our team. I want to also, in conjunction with that, thank Matthew Boko for serving as interim General Services Director. Matthew did an incredible job We're so thankful and so proud of the job that Matthew did. He's got a bright future in our organization. We really appreciate his support. Last thing I want to bring up is I promised during the discussion on collective bargaining that as we move through the collective bargaining process, we'd keep you updated, and we'd also try to keep our citizens updated. I'm pleased tonight to invite to the microphone Derek Menard, who's Deputy Fire Chief for the City of Westminster, and Ron Taylor, who's the President of Local 2889 of the International Association of Firefighters. They're representing the two groups that are in the midst of collective bargaining right now, and they have an update for you.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. Yeah, it's nice to be in front of you again tonight to give you an update on where we're at with this process. So as you are aware, last week we kicked off the negotiations for collective bargaining. And on February 8th, we got together the two parties, the employer and the local, and we identified our issue statements. And so that is part of the interest-based bargaining process, that each party identifies what's important to them that we're going to work through. We identified which the economic issues were and which are the non-economic issues, and we separated those out. On Thursday, February 9th, we worked through the non-economic issues. We had approximately 14 of them, and we worked as a team. It was a collaborative approach, and we are happy to report that we worked through all 14 items and reached consensus and agreement on all items that were brought forward. So this coming Thursday, the two teams are going to get together as one city group, and we are going to work through some tools that we have developed to understand the financial situation with the city and what we wanted to do to move forward to be able to work through those issues. That process will start on February 26th. So we have a 2-week window where we're going to get our homework done in that period. And finally, during that 2-week process, we have our outside legal counsel that is developing a rough draft of the collective bargaining agreement that will include the non-economic issues that we've already resolved, and then it'll be ready to go with the economic piece when we complete that the week of the 26th. So we anticipate being complete with the negotiations by March 1st, and we're confident that we're going to have that done, especially with how smooth the process went with both parties.
Council, Mayor, it's a pleasure to piggyback off what Chief Menard was just talking about. But just from the local standpoint, my membership has never been more engaged. They're excited about the future. Our joint safety committee between the fire administration and the local is off to a spectacular start. And everything that we've hoped for years, the engagement, the seat at the table, and the ability to have our voices heard is definitely coming to fruition. And as always, I want to thank City Manager Don Tripp and Assistant City Manager Jody Andrews. They've always had an open door policy with me, and the collaboration and the cooperation is exceeding every expectation that I've had. And so I appreciate everything that you all have done, and the sky's the limit for us. So.
Anything else, Mr. Tripp?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, I will turn to the council and Mr. Camera.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I get started with my remarks, I just wanted to thank Ikun for singing that song. You just brought good memories. When I was learning to speak English, my English class in Venezuela, we did a dance to Up With The People. So thank you very much for bringing some very long memories. So I just want to take a moment to thank everyone that applied to be in our boards and commission. I see a couple here in the audience. It was an extremely competitive process. And so I just want to thank you. We are excited for the folks that have been selected. We're very excited today to be voting on that. But then also for the folks that were not selected in this round, I just really want to encourage you to stay connected and volunteer with the city. And lastly, I want to thank Ms. Martin for all of the work put into our youth advisory board. We are so, and I was talking about, sorry, Deeds, I'm talking to Michaela. Oh. So we are just so fortunate to have you as our youth advisory panel chair, and thank you for coming here and reminding us about that event that's coming up. I know we've been talking about it, but we realized that it's not in our calendar. We were looking at each other, and we're now going to be putting it in our calendar, and we look forward to supporting the work that you guys are doing. Thank you.
Ms. Bird.
So I wanted to just give a quick shout out to Westminster Public Schools tonight. Saturday I was invited to go and participate in a big all school district event, and our mayor was as well. And some of the things that they were doing was a student competition that addressed multiple subjects. They had a spelling bee, a geography bee, a science fair, and then another competition called Computer Explorers and Lego League Projects, and another competition called Math Counts. What was so extraordinary was how excited each of these students were, and also their parents and the teachers. They had teachers who were there just glowing with pride over all of the hard work that these kids had put into their projects and in preparation for their competitions. And it's one thing, this is just a call out to parents and to teachers. I know how hard it is. You go to work, you're working hard all week. You come home, you support your kids with their homework and their science projects and their read-at-home projects. I go through this every night with my own 2 kids. It's a lot of work, but all of these people gave up all day Saturday for the most part to go in and celebrate their children's successes and to see them compete. And it was a wonderful event. I was very privileged to be a part of it. And really, for those of us who don't have kids in the public schools, or it's been a long time since we've been exposed, I encourage you to get involved so you see the great work that our schools are doing for our kids. I think too often people think that school has changed dramatically and that it's not serving our kids anymore, and I just couldn't tell you that. I guess that statement or line of thinking just couldn't be any further from the truth. So support our kids, support our public schools. They're doing tremendous work for all of us, and definitely they are preparing our leaders for tomorrow, and we all have a lot to be proud of here in Westminster.
Ms. Pinter.
Oh, yes, thank you. I thought I was further down the list. Thank you. Okay. It's really great to hear the update on what's going on with the collective bargaining. I think that your comment that this has been many years coming is perfectly apt. It's really great to hear about the joint work, the Joint Safety Committee, and how you guys are working together to identify and share information with regard to our budgets and our details. It's really encouraging. With regard to Shannon Bird's comments, I have to say I spent Friday and Saturday with Westminster Public School students, and I couldn't be more impressed. We have such bright young people in our city, and if you have any time to go back and volunteer and mentor or coach or however you want to get involved, if you're not a parent yourself, I know there's a lot of opportunities out there to go out and support these young people, because we have a lot of really bright kids. So at any free time you have, I know they would greatly appreciate it. And one of the ways is our really awesome youth advisory panel, so thank you so much for coming up. I ran conferences actually in high school and college, and I know how important it is, and I look forward to seeing your success, so thank you.
Ms. Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, want to say thank you to everyone who took the time out of their day to come out here tonight and to give comments to council. I appreciate the effort that was involved, and it's always good to see you, Jeremy, so thanks for letting us know what's going on with Perlmutter's office. I did want to highlight a couple of quick events. On Saturday the 17th, there is a free legal clinic to learn about the eviction process and your rights. This is a service that we're frequently asked for by residents here in Westminster, so I did want to highlight that the event is happening. It will be at the Irving Street Library from 2 to 4. The program itself is about an hour, and then there'll be legal aid that second hour, and translators for Spanish will be available. I also would want to encourage anyone who has youth to participate in the Rocky Mountain Youth Summit. Thank you so much, Ms. Martin, for coming and for all your work on this. This is a really ambitious endeavor. This is the first year that they've done it, and I'm not overstating how impressive the effort to put this on has been. So really thank you for that. It's something we as a community should be proud of. But leadership is something that our community seems to have in abundance. One of the most difficult challenges that we've had was having to select who would be appointed on our boards and commissions. We had so many talented people that were willing to dedicate their time and talents to this city. So I do want to say thank you and congratulations to all of those that will be appointing, but to all of those that were not selected, please. This is not goodbye. It's just we want you to continue your interest in serving the community, and there are many avenues for that. So thank you all.
Mr. DeMott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two quick things that I wanted to share with everybody is this Friday at the Sonic on 100th and Wadsworth is Sonic Night for the WCPAAA, which is our citizen group who has been through an academy with our PD, and they support the PD by raising money for different needs that they might have. So that goes this Friday from 5 to 8, and 10% of whatever you buy for dinner that night would go back to our group, and that allows us to support different things. One of the most recent things we did with it is we bought some booties for one of the canine dogs from the PD. So great cause. I hope that you go out. The other thing I would like to mention real quick is thank Mr. Seymour for coming out and supporting the Sauce for Soldiers. This was something that started last year and a couple of us put together. This year, Mr. Seymour as well as Jackson Dryling have taken the head with that. The organization that we're supporting is a great organization that supports our warriors when they come back from war. So between those two groups of veterans and police officers, I hope if you have an opportunity that you thank them for their service. So that's all my comments. Thank you.
Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first of all, a big shout out to the collective bargaining people. A really great job. It's impressive. You're setting a fabulous example for our city and for all the surrounding cities. Nice job. And thank you to everyone who came out and spoke up tonight, shared your thoughts and your opinions with us. I know that that's a hard thing to do. It's not easy to get up in front of people and share your thoughts. And so I really admire those who come forward and take advantage of our right to have a public opportunity to speak. And to the Youth Summit, I am so excited. I know that Front Range is very excited. They've been talking about it. So I'm going to be involved, and I'm trying to get more kids to come. So very good job, Ms. Martin. Really impressive. And then I had the privilege on Friday night to spend some time with Access Housing in Adams County, which is a group that helps homeless families facing homelessness achieve self-sufficiency and permanent housing. And I was very touched by the stories that were shared by the families that have faced homelessness. Homelessness is a growing problem in our society, and it's one we must pay very close attention to and try to help and combat in any way we can. We never want to see anyone without a place to live, food on their table, and clothes to wear, safety. These are very important issues. So if you have an opportunity, I always encourage people to get involved, whether it's with Access Housing or joining your boards and commissions, and congratulations to all of those who were selected to serve. But I would also add to those of you who maybe were not asked at this time to step up, but attend those meetings. They're open to the public. There's always opportunity to be more involved, to be a part of the group. Just because you're not the person that was selected to serve on the board doesn't mean that you can't be someone who steps up and becomes a part of the board. I did that. I was not selected to sit on a board, but I attended all the board meetings and got involved with the group because I realized that I had a passion. I had a passion for inclusivity, and so I stepped up and just became a part of the board. I didn't get to vote, but I got to be a part of it, and that's really what the privilege is being a part of it. So thank you.
A couple of things for our Up With People group. I'm very connected with the group. I've been a part of your leadership conference for the last 6 years, and every year you've been someplace different. So it's good to see you getting closer back to Westminster, because you used to be in Westminster back in the early days. Some of us remember you're too young. I want to take a minute. I want to go back to Michaela. It's been a privilege to not only know Michaela and her mom, but to have known what she has overcome. As a recipient in childhood of a serious amount of bullying, she has persevered. And she has proven herself to be very strong of character, mind, and perseverance to overcome that. About 5 years ago, you couldn't get Michaela to say a word. She was very much of an introvert, did not speak up in public. But let me tell you how she's overcome that. She's become the Colorado record holder in competitive speech, taking 5 titles as state champion. She has 2 championships in contrasting monologues, 2 championships in dramatic interpretation, 1 championship in original oratory. As a freshman, she went to state and won 4th place for an event called Contrasting Monologues. Now, that's the part of it. But as Councilor Pinter mentioned a minute ago, she was also part of the Jefferson County mock trial group, and she won 1st place. And is going to state with her team to compete statewide in the mock trial, which Emma has helped with a team with for a couple of years now. This kind of involvement in our youth panel, and unfortunately, in May when she graduates, we will be losing Michaela off our panel. But that group of seniors and those that are coming up behind them have taken on a tremendous task of putting together this youth summit for leadership all on their own. Now, some of us have helped them a little bit through writing emails and writing some letters, but they have been a major part of raising the funding for this. They've gone out and talked to schools, principals, school districts. I think they've got an excellent chance of starting something new that will be focused here in Westminster, but is open to every school, freshman up, for any school in the metro area. So if you know of a student that hasn't got anything to do next Friday and Saturday, go to the website. Where's Cindy? Michaela, can you tell us the website real quick?
Just type in Rocky Mountain Youth Summit and it should be the first to come up.
Okay, Rocky Mountain Youth Summit. We are looking for more kids. We have space for up to 300. And it's held at the Marriott right here on Church Ranch Boulevard. But due to the leadership that Michaela and the other students have done, we think this will be a start of one of many successful years. So reach out to any student you know. Rocky Mountain Youth Summit is the website. Get them registered. This is something that's important. These are the leaders that will come behind us. And to get them involved at an early age and just to get to know this group that serves just Westminster alone is an honor and a privilege. So Michaela, congratulations and thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on. Our next item is the consent agenda. This is a group of routine matters to be acted on by a single motion, and we have surveyed the council. There has been no request to have any item removed at this point. So Ms. Pinter, if you would, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move the City Council adopt the consent agenda items 8A through 8H.
Ms. Scully?
Second.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Signify by your vote. And I'll get you there in just a second. There you go. Okay, motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Next item was resolution number 4, appointments in boards and commissions. Mr. Canberra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 4, appointing new regular and alternate members to fill vacancies on the Election Commission, the Environmental Advisory Board, the Inclusivity Board, the Parks, Recreation, Libraries, and Open Space Advisory Board, the Personnel Board, and Special Permit and License Board, respectively.
Ms. Byrd?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council?
Yes.
Ms. Sykes?
I was going to ask, I guess, for privilege, could we invite those that are in attendance to come forward after we appoint them so we can give them a round of applause and thank them?
Sure. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go.
I just wanted to quickly say thank you to everyone who applied, as mentioned earlier in comments. We did have an amazing amount of qualified applicants, and I would encourage you all to stay involved with the city. There are so many ways to get back and get involved. And if you have any trouble finding them, they are listed, at least in summary, on our city's website, and you can click and find some of the different ways to plug in, both professionally and personally, to helping your fellow citizens here in Westminster. So thank you, everyone.
Any other comments by council? Okay, seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Okay. Do we have any here?
John's here.
John,
Right.
come on down. So this is 4, 5?
Yeah, there's over there.
It's okay, we're not going to bite. At least not more than once. So this is 5 of the 11 positions that were open. And why don't you tell us real quick who you are and the position that you have been appointed to?
I'm Ray Tillman, Special Permits and License.
Okay.
Davis Scolata, Parks, Library, and Recreation.
Sheila Mankey, Environmental Advisory Board. Allison, alternate, environmental.
John Bowles, Inclusivity Board.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your going through our process with us, and congratulations.
I just wanted to add, you know, we had over 40 people apply for those positions. So when we say that we had a lot of interest, we're not exaggerating. So thank you all very much for applying, and we're excited to work with you.
Okay, moving on to item 10A. This is the opening of a public hearing in regards to changes to the municipal code and the growth management and comprehensive planning document. Mr. Tripp, you or Mr. Andrews or someone else? There we go. Mr. Losman. You're on, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we're requesting council to pass an ordinance to amend certain chapters of the Westminster Municipal Code relating to growth management program, specifically eliminating the competition element of the program plus some housekeeping items. We're also requesting council to pass resolution to revisions to the design guidelines to help achieve those changes that we're requesting. Tonight's presentation will be made by Amy Johnson, Senior Planner for the city.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, if you would, please.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. Again, I'm Amy Johnson, Senior Planner. Before you tonight are recommended updates to the growth management program that include eliminating the annual residential service competition, targeted adjustments to design standards relative to energy, water, and mobility, and Westminster Municipal Code amendments to simplify organization of the code, reflect current review practices, and establish consistent criteria for comprehensive plan adoption and amendments. These efforts are a result of the 2015 department audit, feedback from stakeholders and staff, and the briefing held with City Council in a study session on August 7th, 2017, where the discussion was about continuing to manage growth while having a more responsive residential development process, maintaining high quality. The Planning Commission was briefed on this proposal on December 12th and recommended approval of this proposal on January 9th of 2018. And so I'll go over a brief history and then the proposed changes that are before you tonight in this presentation, and further details are of course available if there are questions. As described in the agenda memo, the growth management program launched in 1978 to pace development with the availability of city services, with a focus on capacity constraints in the water and wastewater systems. This was the result of a situation where the city found that if all of the approved developments were built out within 2.5 years, there would have been 28,000 new dwelling units. This is back in 1978, but the city only had capacity at that time to serve about 2,900 new units before new infrastructure improvements and wastewater system facilities could be completed. The growth management system allocated a number of service commitments per year and established a service competition process using design guidelines and incentives tied to points to evaluate and score projects. I'll go over the more recent evolution of this program on the next slide, but first let's talk about water use projection and the comprehensive plan. In the 2004 and 2013 comprehensive plans, we correlated land use designations with the water supply plan, where each land use was assigned a water budget for indoor and outdoor water use in acre feet per acre. The example highlighted in red here is traditional mixed-use neighborhood development with the projected water use for that designation shown in the table. The city's water rights portfolio, water treatment facilities, distribution system, wastewater system, and treatment facilities have all been sized based on the comprehensive plan. With the 2013 plan, the city planned for about 5,500 additional units through year 2035 and has since adopted comprehensive plan amendments authorizing an additional approximately 1,000 units. Staff endeavors to assess utility system impacts with every new development proposal and convey that assessment in agenda memos to City Council. As we near build out of the city and the water supply changes, staff has committed to annually compile and present a cumulative list of comp plan amendments and their impacts on the gap between the city's water supply and the demand that would occur with such a list. That was presented on November 20th of 2017 as an information-only item to City Council and is included as Attachment 6 in this memo. This slide summarizes the review process administered in recent years for a new residential development. The award competition would occur once a year in January. Then, if service commitments were awarded to a project in January, developers could apply for a comp plan amendment if that had been a condition of their award. That occurred with about 7 awardees over the past 4 years. If a comp plan amendment was approved, or if the property already fit the comp plan designation, they could apply for an official development plan, or ODP, and if needed, a preliminary development plan, or PDP, concurrent to the ODP. After the development review audit, staff has been reducing review times consistently for the last year or two, particularly with the rollout of online development review in late 2016. However, eliminating this competition in favor of a clearer system for managing growth has been a goal as well. At the August 7th City Council study session, staff was directed to move forward with replacing the growth management competition by proposing a simpler way to manage growth and achieve quality residential development in Westminster. The competition for service commitments originated to slow the rate of residential development so that growth didn't outpace services. In recent years, the competition did continue to slow the pace of growth, but we were receiving applications that proposed fewer and fewer incentive points each year, also indicating the need for an updated process. So the primary objective for this phase 1 of changes is to eliminate the competition and put something in its place around the time the competition would have occurred in early 2018. We're thereby separating design standards from growth management through this elimination of the competition. Instead, we're leaning on the new review criteria and findings for amending the comprehensive plan through which projected service demands have been determined once a year, making it a better instrument to manage growth. At the August 7th City Council study session, there was discussion of managing growth by limiting comp plan amendments to once a year as an alternative to replace the annual competition. And while further changes would occur to both design standards and the comp plan with phase 2, at this time no limit to the reviews of comp plan amendments is included in the recommendations from staff and planning commission. While this may cause a slight increase in the interest in residential development in the city, continuing to limit or pace development in any way was a major concern of developers. At the outreach held on October 25th, 3 attendees expressed concerns about staff's initial proposal of the number of times each year that amendments to the comp plan could be reviewed. Staff will endeavor to address growth concerns through the new criteria for reviewing comp plan amendments in the changes to the code that we're discussing tonight. Again, we're hoping to wrap up phase 1 in early 2018. We're proposing to remove the annual competition for service commitments. This separates growth management from the design standards. Excuse me. Growth would be managed instead through the review of comprehensive plan amendments as they are requested by developers per the new review criteria shown in the code amendment before you tonight. If such a comprehensive plan amendment receives approval, or if developers wish to build according to the existing comp plan designation, they can apply for an official development plan, or ODP, showing the minimum number of elective points required for the type of residential development. And if needed, a preliminary development plan, or PDP, concurrently. This interim method for continuing to use points has allowed us to make targeted updates and maintain high quality design for residential development prior to the more extensive phase 2 effort. The minimum number of elective points we're proposing to require is the approximate average of the previous 5 years of service awardees. The 5-year average is what staff based recommendations of approval on in the competition previously. of the few comments that were made at the October Development Professional Outreach meeting regarding design guidelines, most involved options that were already available, and the remaining components represented items that would need to be explored in more depth in Phase 2. Because the time frame to eliminate the competition in Phase 1 is so small, we were only able to adjust residential design standards in 3 major targeted areas, which I'll outline in just a moment. It was also true of many comments from city staff that those items would need to be explored during Phase 2. However, a coordinated effort from city staff did inform targeted Phase 1 changes in the areas of energy, water, and mobility. So here we have a list of some benefits to developers as well as benefits to the community of the proposed changes in Phase 1. The competition will be eliminated, which will be a huge time savings for developers. They can now come in for a pre-application meeting and propose points with an ODP submittal at any time. Developers no longer have to guess the number of points that will win any award, and the number of minimum points required will be calculated with many options on how to get to that number. Benefits to the community include that the changes will respond to Council's strategic goals regarding sustainability in the areas of energy, water, and mobility. These are needed updates that will maintain a high level of quality in new communities, and we will have consistent criteria for the review of requested comp plan amendments. So now I'll go over briefly the technical changes that were made to design standards since the study session last week. I also have older slides if we need to speak about any proposed changes that were already shown last week. So one adjustment we made in the energy section of design standards last week was for electric vehicle charging stations to be installed in garages for 10% of the dwelling units, plus pre-wiring for additional future installations. This elective is available for all housing types for 250 points in Phase 1 changes. Also, solar panels for multifamily and senior housing was adjusted to 10% of buildings as opposed to units. A few other technical adjustments we made were that the language regarding exterior materials and alternatives was adjusted to better reflect current planning process. Accommodations for recycling receptacles and compost bins are encouraged now. Masonry walls are now encouraged along arterial streets. Recreational amenity descriptions were adjusted to describe alternatives to courts, and gardens are offered as an alternative for senior housing after coordinating with the Parks Department. And the code amendment language was adjusted to clarify comp plan amendments may be requested for different designations within a year's time, even if one designation was denied. This sums up the changes made since the study session last week. In Phase 2, which will include updates to standards for traditional mixed-use neighborhood development, as well as residential, the goal with Phase 2 would be to provide even more clarity, simplicity, and efficiency for all ODP processes. The comprehensive plan will be updated with Phase 2 to better align with current council goals, such as affordable housing. And so to summarize the phase changes, currently we've been administrating the annual survey for most new residential development proposals with some exceptions like affordable housing and focus areas. With Phase 1, we're looking at short-term fixes to remove the competition and respond to the Community Department audit. The municipal code will be amended and targeted updates to design standards for residential provided for better consistency in the review of comprehensive plan amendments. And Phase 1 timeline was driven primarily by the time of what would have been the 2018 service commitment competition. With Phase 2, we've received some wider ranging updates to development procedures and design standards that require more analysis and stakeholder involvement. As we finalize the scope of changes included with Phase 1, we'll have many areas to tackle during Phase 2, such as accessory dwelling units, design standards for an industrial development, and more opportunities to introduce sustainability concepts. Concurrent with Phase 2 will be a more in-depth update to the comprehensive plan to ensure alignment with current council goals in areas such as affordable housing, mobility, and sustainability as well. So our recommended actions for tonight are to hold a public hearing, recommend approval of of the Westminster Municipal Code amendments relative to growth management, comprehensive planning, pre-application procedures and definitions. Recommend approval also of revised residential design standards for single-family detached, attached, multifamily, and senior housing. Next would be to initiate phase 2 work, which would begin this year and continue through 2019. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Just before I open it up to the council, just for the audience, Ms. Johnson referred to an audit several times in her comment, and that is one of 2 audits that were requested over the last few years by the City Council. And that was the result of feedbacks from not only our building and development community investors, but also the general public on how we were doing development work. The last that audit came up with a little over, Dave helped me, about 30-something findings, I think is what we came up with, and the council at that time indicated we were going to let all the findings. So the process of adopting those findings is part of what's going on tonight, is to get that started. Now, this is the early part. The very detailed technical parts will be what Ms. Johnson described as phase 2. And this is going to be something that's going to take a little while, but what we want to get it right the first time. We want to make it clear that anybody looking at Westminster for a potential development or investment of any level can go to our platform or wherever they want and find very clear and concise directions of what they can expect when they come into a competition or consideration for future utility hookups and stuff, so that it's not a guessing game, but they have very clear things that they can figure out where they're going to stand when people come in and do their application to the city. So this is a big step for us. This has been several years coming. Our staff's been working diligently to get us there, and this is a great first step, but we're not done. Any other comments or questions from council at this point before I open it to the public? Okay, seeing none, I will now open the public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience who has any comments or questions they'd like to bring forward, please come up with the microphone and we'll address those as we can.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Go ahead.
My name is George Habercorn. I live at 3311 West 92nd Place, Westminster. And I would like to know how far R2 goes before R3. How large can the building be? How many dwellings? How tall?
Okay, do me a favor. Address it up here so I can hear your question, and I'll try to figure out who to go to. As I understand, you were asking for clarification on R2?
On R2 as opposed to an R3.
Okay. Amy, can you help us?
I'm sorry, I don't have all of that information in front of me. However, R2 does, I believe, stand for 2 dwelling units per acre, approximately. That would be the approximate density. So there could be a few different potential ways to come to that.
Is that what you're asking, sir?
I think so, because I've seen some R2s turn into nearly R3s, and I don't want to see that happen here because it gets to be ambiguous, and people in Westminster won't really understand what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that your only question, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there any other questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council, one last opportunity. Do you have any questions of Ms. Johnson or Mr. Losman? Mr. DeMott.
I'm curious with the changes that have been made since the study session, if it's normal policy and procedure just to go ahead and add those on without it going back to Planning Commission.
I think in this particular case, that is not an issue because these are changes to address council's questions that really aren't germane to Planning Commission, a need for Planning Commission's approval.
They're also fairly minor.
I appreciate the clarification. It was actually brought up to me by a resident, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, the process was kind of laid out on the record so that people understood why those changes were felt okay to go forward without Planning Commission review. Thank you.
Ms. Sykes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make a comment more than a question. Is this the appropriate time to do that? Okay. So I really want to say say I appreciate the changes, particularly in the residential design guidelines to include water, energy, and mobility. Thank you so much for that. And I also really appreciate the additional certainty that this will provide our development community and also our residents. And I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your last name. I know your first name's George.
Yes.
But one of the benefits of a comp plan is it does provide our residents also certainty as to what the environment around them is going to be like or what we're going to look like at build out. And so while I applaud all of the changes that we're making, and I do intend to vote yes, I do just want to point out my concern once again with with not limiting comp plan changes. The number of times that we can have amendments throughout the year. While our growth management competition no longer was suiting the needs of this council and working well for our development community, and we were seeing our points go down, I do think that the intentionality behind it to have facilitate smart growth were valid. We want to make sure that we are a sustainable city, and part of that is making sure that we're growing in a way that we can meet both our infrastructure needs and our water needs. And so understanding the aggregate implications of comp plan amendments, I think, is best done when we can look at how they all overlap and impact together. So I would say perhaps at phase 2, after you've re-looked at the comp plan to match our current strategic plan goals, perhaps, I'm not saying once a year is the right limit, but perhaps we look at that and see if there is a way to limit it so that we provide the development community certainty, but also our residents certainty.
Any other comments from council? Staff, any other recommendations? Any other comments from you, Ms. Johnson or Mr. Lawson?
Just to address Councilor Seitz' comment, we'll certainly look at that in the phase 2 section. We've already thought about that, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. Any other comments? There being no other comments, I will close the public hearing and now ask the council to have someone bring forward item A2. Ms. Seitz?
I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 6 on first reading to amend chapters 2 through 5 of Title 11 of the City of Westminster Municipal Code regarding growth management and comprehensive planning, along with housekeeping updates, procedures, and definitions.
Do I have a second? Mr. Cambro? Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by council? Hearing none, this is a councilor's bill. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Ms. Seitz, if you would please, A3.
I move to pass resolution number 5 to adopt residential design standards for single-family detached, single-family attached, senior housing, and multifamily residential uses, superseding residential design standards for single-family detached, single-family attached, senior housing, and multifamily residential uses, adopted on October 13th, 2013.
Ms. Scully?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing none, again, this is a roll call vote.
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
And I need, there we go. Okay. Again, the motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 10B. This is Councilor's Bill number 7. Ms. Byrd?
I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 7 on first reading, appropriating funds into the General Capital Improvement Fund awarded from the Great Outdoors Colorado Inspire Grant Program in the amount of $1,423,297 for the Westy Power Poder project.
Ms. Pinter?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, again, this is a roll call vote.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd. Yes. DeCambra.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I have a 7-0 vote again. Moving on to Councilor's Bill number 8. Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 8 on first reading, appropriating funds into the General Capital Improvement Fund awarded from the Adams County Open Space Program in the amount of $329,554 for the Big Dry Creek Phase 2 Improvements Project.
Ms. Sites.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Counselor, is there any comments or questions? Ms. Sites.
I just want to say thank you to the Adams County Open Space Funds. They've been a great partner for the city, and we've had a lot of projects and success with their help.
Okay. Other comments, council? Seeing none, again, roll call vote, please.
Pinter.
Yes.
Sights.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Going on back to the next item on the agenda is item 10D. Ms. Byrd.
I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 9 on first reading, amending chapters 1 and 2 of Title 6 of the Westminster Municipal Code concerning protective orders and harassment.
Ms. Sites.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Ms. Pinter.
Yes, I just wanted to, is this one where we had the amended language, or is it the next one? It's F1. Oh. No, you're right. That's right. Sorry. Wrong title.
Okay. See, we're okay with that one?
Yes, sir.
All right, so again, a roll call vote. Ms. Parker.
Sights.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. And next item up will be Councilor's Bill number 10. Mr. Demott.
Mr. Mayor, I move to pass Councilor Bill number 10 on first reading, amending Chapter 8 of the Title 1 of Westminster Municipal Code concerning penalties.
Second.
Mr. Camera, have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, Mr. Demott? You had a question or a comment? Yep. Okay. And this, again, is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Sights.
Yes.
Again, the motion carries on the 7-0 vote. Moving on to the next item, this is resolution number 6. Ms. Sites?
Mr. Mayor, I move to reallocate, excuse me, I move to adopt resolution number 6 to authorize the city manager to sign the intergovernmental agreement with the Colorado Department of Transportation for the US 36 bikeway crossing safety improvements at West 88th Avenue, Sheridan Boulevard, and Church Ranch Boulevard, and authorize the city manager to apply and accept $225,774 for a federal safety grant, along with $25,085 in state of Colorado matching funds, for a total grant awarded of $250,859 for this project.
Ms. Byrd?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on resolution number 6? Okay, seeing none, again, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Sights.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Ms. Sites, if you would, F2, please.
Thank you. I move to adopt resolution number 6. I move to reallocate $27,872 from the General Capital Improvement Fund Enhanced Mobility Connectivity Project to account to provide a City of Westminster local match for this project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Pinter, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing none, all of you, this is a vote with your blights. And the motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is a resolution number 7. Ms. Sites again.
All right, I'm going to try to get this right because this is one we reworded. I move to adopt resolution number 7 to implement Westminster Title VI plan as a guide for ensuring the City of Westminster remains in compliance with the requirements under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title 42 United States Code 2000D, and related statuses. Okay. And after the first and with the amendment that for after item 10G, insert into the resolution as a second, whereas, and into Title 6 Plan Section, is that a 1 or a I? 1, after first paragraph, the City of Westminster extends this coverage to ensure that no person is discriminated against on the grounds of immigration status, gender identity or expression, or sexual orientation.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, Mr. DeMott?
I have a question for the city manager on this. Can you tell me, do you make people who work for the city fill out an I-9?
Yes, I believe we do.
Can you tell me the purpose of that?
I'll get back to you. I don't want to answer that question without being completely accurate.
Well, according to what's out there, it's to determine immigration status. So I'm uncomfortable with us adding language to protect somebody's immigration status if it's in complete contradiction what federal law is. And the whole purpose of this is to come into compliance with federal law. So I'll be voting no.
Okay, any other comments, Mr. Canberra?
Immigration status could mean someone that's a lawful permanent resident. It could be someone that has a work visa. It could be many different things. So I feel very comfortable voting for this.
Go ahead, Mr. DeMott.
If it were amended to add language that within federal guidelines or something around that, so that we know that that's what we're doing, I'd be comfortable with it.
All right, so let me do this. Mr. Frankel, can you help us out with this one?
Can we just poll the council before we consider such an amendment?
Well, right now, let's get into legal advice. If we can get it, then we'll come back and see if there's a request for council to amend it.
Okay, so the process, Mr. Mayor, at this point, since we have a motion and a second, is to either vote on the motion which has been seconded, or if the maker of the motion were willing to accept the modification that's been proposed, I believe that in that manner the motion could be modified.
Okay. So we have a motion, and we have a second, and we have an expression of a request for an amendment to the motion. So from the maker of the motion, I think you've heard the comment from the requested amendment. Are you willing to accept an amendment?
I also am seeing quite visibly that there is no consensus from the rest of council towards this amendment. So I will not accept that friendly amendment, as it does not represent the will of this council. It represents the will of one gentleman.
Okay. So from the maker of the second, that is also the same request. And you did the second, I believe.
I agree with Councilor Seitz. I will not accept the amended language.
Okay.
As Councilor Seitz initially read this, yes, but not the friendly amendment that's been suggested.
So what you have is an opportunity to vote on the motion as it presented and seconded, and if you vote for it or against it, whichever you want, there's also an opportunity to bring this back for an amendment later, if that is so the desire of the council. If not, then it will pass or fail on the vote of the motion. So let me remember where I'm at just a second. Okay, this is a roll call vote. Is there any other comments from council before we take the vote? And Mr. DeMont, back to you again.
I just want to be abundantly clear that my intent is not to allow any kind of discrimination against what the federal government would describe as a protected class. I think that we should protect those classes as described by the federal government. I'm just uncomfortable with the way this is worded. Just to be on the record, I'm abundantly clear about why I'm voting no.
Okay. Ms. Seitz.
I just want to highlight that these additional classes were added to our list here at the city of who we want to make sure are not discriminated against quite some years ago. And so this has already been an established practice here in Westminster. We just want to make sure if there's a document explaining what you can do if you feel you've been discriminated against, represents the full list of who we have articulated our protections for in the city of Westminster. So it is my understanding that has already been vetted, and I feel completely comfortable voting yes.
Ms. Byrd.
I'd also like to add that the language we have here, we did add 2 other classes that did not relate to immigration status, but all other language is from Title VI, from federal language. So there is no need to go above and beyond what the federal government has already set forth in its statute. For that reason, I feel very comfortable voting for it the way it was presented by Councilor Seitz.
Any other comments? Mr. Cameron.
I would just encourage my colleagues to get educated about what immigration status means, because I think we're confusing things. And I think we need to make sure that we represent and we protect all of our residents here in our city.
Are there any other comments by council? Okay, hearing none. Again, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
No.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. In this case, the vote is a 6-1 in favor of the motion. And then we will move on to item 10H, resolution number 8.
No.
Ms. Pinter?
Sure. Move to adopt resolution number 8, establishing the 2018 calendar year interest rate for developer-funded public improvement recovery contracts at a 6.5% and an interest rate of 3.67% for city-funded public improvements.
Ms. Scully?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for adoption of resolution number 8. Is there any comments from council? Seeing none, again, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
DeCambra.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Okay. And the motion carries on a 7-0 vote. We'll move on to item 10I, asset and maintenance system. And Ms. Byrd.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the reallocation of available funds from the Water Park Replacement Capital Project account in the amount of $1 million to the Asset Management System account for implementation of a new asset and maintenance management system, including software licensing.
Ms. Pinter?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council on item 10I1? Seeing none, this is a vote with your buttons, if you would please. Okay. Motion is carried on a 7-0 vote. Ms. Byrd, if you would please, I2.
I move, based on the recommendation of the city manager, to determine that the public interest is best served by authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Geographic Information Systems, Inc. for the implementation of a new asset and maintenance management system in the amount of $900,600 and authorize a 3% contingency in the amount of $29,400 for a total authorized expenditure of $930,000.
Ms. Pinter?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Scully, you had a comment? Okay. Is there any comments from council on regards to I2?
No, sir.
Okay. Please, this is a vote with your buttons. Okay. And the motion carries on 7-0. Ms. Byrd, the last one, please.
I move, based on the recommendation of the city manager, to determine that the public interest is best served by authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Azteca Systems LLC for purchase and first-year licensing of the CityWorks asset and maintenance management software in the amount of $70,000.
Ms. Pinter?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing none, this again is a button vote, please. Okay. Motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to bring this to your attention, but we have already completed the executive session that we had scheduled for. Ladies and gentlemen, the motion is made and seconded and approved. We are adjourned.